is a living lab for the future. People come here from all over the world and exchange their research and ideas. Yes and is a way to share their inspiring stories so that we can build a more awakened world together.
Good boy.
Good boy.
Good boy. And today with us is David Pearl, straight from London, right? Or
via Piemonte.
Via Piemonte, because you've chosen this region to be.
It chose me, I think.
It chose you.
Me. Yeah.
So David, we've been friends for over 20 years and still it's not easy for me to define who you are and what you do. You're a wizard in many artistic ways. Would you like please to share a little bit?
I'm laughing because it's my least favourite question. It's the one my mother asks and I've never been able to come up with an adequate answer. My background is in the arts.
Yeah, you were an opera singer, right?
An opera
Since
singer
you were a boy.
since I was a little kid. And really, that's also why I'm here, because something about opera opened up, I'm sure, like a channel in me. And but then rather than take a more conventional route, in mainstream opera, I began to mix it up with circus and various other things. To support myself, I was working in advertising. My father was a man who had many professions at once. He was a judge and a dentist and a scientist and an artist. And I think I must have thought that's what's normal, right? So I'm not one thing, but as time has gone on, I've worked a lot with art in the business world. Let's call it the business world.
So your father already showed you how it was possible to express your different personalities, to put this into Damanhurian terms, right?
Yeah.
So you grew up not thinking, I'm just one, I'm the doctor, or
Yeah.
I'm the artist,
Yeah.
but you were already allowed to explore different parts of yourself.
I often say to clients, are you a Nokia or an iPhone? And they're like, what do you mean? And I say, cognitive science used to think of human beings like a bit like a Nokia. You were a unified thing, and in order to improve, you had to be a better phone. It's like Freudian, right? But now we often think it's more like we're a platform, like an iPhone. It's a playground for different personalities. So I like to think about myself, and I like to think about the clients and people I work with. But I would say that I had an insight recently, which is, it takes a while. You look back and you go, oh, that's what I was, or what I've become. When I was a kid, even before I sang, I had a dream of being a conductor. And the reason was very clear, because I believed you could wear a cape. How do you say a cape in Italian?
Un mantello.
Un mantello. And also I like the idea of the white stick. And I think now obviously it's a magic wand. And I used to say, and I can still see the image of myself flying around the world, and I would walk down this corridor and I would walk into an orchestra. I'd pick up my thing and music would come out. And I look back and that is actually what I do, except not with orchestras at the moment, but with groups of people. So I go all over the world. I design and lead. I call it experience engineering because you have to call it something. And because engineers think it's real if you say it's engineering, right? It's wrong. Right? But essentially, it's really a lot of what I do is gathering people together for extraordinary things to happen.
And today, I know there is also an invitation for the people that are watching us to try something of your magical touch with an experience that you have created that is your non-profit. That is called Street Wisdom.
And this is an idea that actually came from working with the Oracle. It was very specific. I just didn't understand it for about 10 years. But essentially what I did was took some of the experience work I do in businesses and made it free, organized it into what I call a walk shop. So it's a 3-hour process that you can do. You can download from the website, streetwisdom.org. And it essentially turns streets into schools anywhere in the world. And because it's free, it's in 40 countries around the world. It's to me also it's extraordinary that in such a short time. I've done a TEDx talk on it. Essentially it has 3 phases where you tune up your senses, first phase, then you go for a quest, you ask a question in the street using your heightened awareness to get inspiration from the street, and then you have a sharing, usually in a cafe or somewhere, and you share what happened. And the idea was to make it so simple that anyone can do it anywhere without any professional training, but also to make it powerful. And it's taken 10 years to come up with very few things that really, really work everywhere in the world. Definitely invite people to try it. One thing people might really like also is I've done a little audio guide. So you download it onto your smartphone and then I'll give you the instructions and you can do a street wisdom walk wherever you are in the world.
What do you find that people are most surprised at, or that really changes in them in such a short time? It seems like, okay, it seems pretty simple. I'm just walking, in the street. Yet, I participated in many. I was with you when we started designing them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and I lead some of them, and I really see the transformation.
Yes.
So how can we encapsulate the magic that happens in those hours?
It's deliberately quite open, street wisdom. It isn't specifically pinned to a thing. But I would say generally, for the people who don't normally come to Damanhur, or don't normally do self-development, it's a surprise and shock to them that they're not alone. And what I mean by that is they come back from their walks feeling that the world is cooperating with them. Like the environment is a plaything, is a friend. And often we're told the environment is an enemy. Especially, this is all, by the way, done in cities, and it's deliberately done not in beautiful places like Damanhur, but in really smelly, we've done it all over the world, where there's apparently not beauty. But that's another thing that happens is people come back a little bit more in love with their surroundings and also with themselves, and in love with life. The other thing that often happens is that people get answers to questions. And they get it from two sources, really. They get it because they don't know this necessarily, but their thoughts are reflected back to them in the world. So it seems like it's coming from outside, but it's inside, actually. The other thing, and this is also another reason for it, is strangers say extraordinary things to people, right? So you stop a stranger, you ask a question, and consistently amazing what strangers will say. And I think that is a mind blower for people, that the strangers that we've been taught a little bit to avoid and be little islands, turns out that the person you ask tends to have exactly the right thing you need to hear. We're taking it further now. We're beginning to create things called wisdom streets, which is something we've spoken about, where for a period of time you do street wisdom a lot on the street, so that everyone gets used to the fact you're going to see people walking slowly or asking life questions.
With strange umbrellas.
With strange umbrellas. But it's interesting the effect that it has on people working, for example, in shops, whose life isn't always so interesting. They love it that people start coming here asking their advice about life questions and so on. And I think this could be something that could be quite transformational around the world if we can plant more wisdom streets in streets. Because also it costs zero. It's at a time when education and development is getting quite expensive. This is designed to be free. I assumed it was poetic. The phrase was walk in circles in public places. So I thought, this is a metaphor. Turns out it wasn't a metaphor.
So what you did is at a certain point in your life, you asked a question of the Oracle of Damanhur. And then as part of your answer, there was also this sentence. Because this is something that everybody who's interested can do. We have an active Oracle.
Yes.
And if people have profound questions they want to ask on their life journey, they can ask a question and then they receive richly an answer that very often takes time to be fully discovered, as you are now telling us. 7 years you thought of that little sentence.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. I sometimes describe it as like the world's greatest tarot card. It's like there's a department in Damanhur which is kind of like mega tarot or stuff. And I work with some of the world's consultancies, and that's really what they're trying to do, which is they're trying to let people understand what's coming and stuff. So I think you've got an amazing resource here, amazing.
And thank you. So on this, my last question for you. You've been coming here for 20 years at least, maybe? Maybe 25.
Yeah.
So what is it that brings you back? What do you find in Damanhur that is unique? And if you were to invite someone to come here, why? Why should people come and visit?
Okay, so it's a bit of a roundabout question, but a little bit like when I first saw opera. People told me opera was artificial, but when I first saw opera, I thought, no, that's real. Everything else is a bit artificial. The heightened quality of opera, I thought that's how life should be. When I first came to Damanhur, I thought, this is reality. It's not strange. Life is magical, and you recognize that. And so for me, it's the most normal place in the world, in a weird way. London, for example, is much weirder and eccentric than here. Why I come back is because it feels like it's not only a delight, it's a necessity. I come here and I can drop the pretense of having to be a normal human and allow in all sorts of dimensions which we know are there but are not generally spoken about. But here it's as normal as plumbing. So I find it very, very regenerating, just being in an atmosphere where this is all possible.
And what is it that is possible?
Anything. Yeah, essentially, yeah. We do a lot of work on stories, as you know. We do it together. I just think a lot of people, the story they tell themselves about themselves is pretty small, and the story in Damanhur is a big, 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 anything's possible story.
And together.
Yeah, we do it together. Yeah, it's a
do it
collective story. It's not this isolated thing. And I think that why should people come here? A lot of people are talking now in the so-called outside world about community, and communities are great, but they also have difficulties with them. I think what people can see in Damanhur is the power of intentional community. A group of people are getting together for a reason, but also a very grounded one where the inevitable difficulties get continually processed. So it's noisy and it's real and it's food and it's, you know, it's epic, but it's domestic at the same time.
Thank you very much, David. And looking forward to the next walk with you.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's walk now. Andiam cerca fortuna, la primavera par, al chiaro della luna ci aspetta il marinar. O barca e vuol al remo, addio bel ciel friulan, insieme noi sbarcheremo, lontan, lontan, lontan.